Why is Trulli here at NAMM? We are here to talk about how we reinvented low end. Trying to deploy a system that enables you and your organization to use it every single day, really driving the ROI.
I want to take you through using one box to take from a gig from 20 people all the way up 5,000 people, and how we can do that and be portable, roll in, roll out for everyday use.
That's the Trulli Base 50. We are here to talk about how we reinvented low end. And when we think about low end, we think about subwoofers, we think about bass, we think about how important that is to all genres of music. To deploy a subwoofer, you have to pay the 4 taxes. It's going to take more time. Subs require a lot of power. They're the heaviest portion of your rig. It also takes up the most space. Why do we compromise so often when we know bass is so important and critical to the music and feeling it and really connecting with the crowd? I think it has to do with time, power, weight, and space. When those realities set in, we compromise. And so how do we fix this so I don't have to compromise anymore? We've created this simple graph at Trulli that measures impact, how much output am I giving, versus how easy it is to achieve that output. How many of us here have ran passive PA systems in your life? Awesome. So that's where I started. That's where I cut my teeth. There are still many amazing sound systems out there today that operate that way. But there are learning curves with those systems. And then over time, we started to develop active systems, taking some of those electronics and hardware and stuffing them into the enclosures, making it a little bit easy, but not compromising on the impact. And then later, these Bluetooth speakers came along that a lot of us have, and they're easy, but you're not deploying them for venues or events. What if we can combine the impact of these systems and the ease of a Bluetooth speaker? That's the Trulli Base 50, and we're going to go into that in a little bit. And so just to clarify what we're talking about, a Bluetooth speaker is that. That's what I think about a Bluetooth speaker. But it ultimately doesn't drive the impact that I'm looking for my event or venue. When we think about passive systems, that's what I think about. And that's not all the components you need to run a passive system. That's just a strong portion of it. I think it's time for audio to evolve the same way lighting has. Show of hands, who has ever run park hands with dimmers and all the things here? It took 40 years to figure out the blue LED. That's what took time. The red and the green were there. The blue was not. And then Astera, a German company, said, we're going to start as a battery-powered lighting company. And that's all we're going to make. And everyone said, there's no way that's going to be bright enough. It won't have the right color temperatures. It won't be rugged. No way I'm going to deploy that. 20 years later, we're never going to look back. And now, in all shapes and sizes, there are battery-powered lighting fixtures. So what changed? What did Trulli change to drive this evolution? We changed the engine and not the box. What's inside the box is really what's driving that sound and fundamental difference. We call that thin driver technology. It's globally patented, and it's a fraction of the size of a traditional woofer. It requires a fraction of the space, the air space, to get the output that you're looking for. And that's a big deal. What comprises our thin driver technology, and what's really fundamentally the difference? Well, we operate like a piston, meaning we have no cone, because cones do not scale well. The bigger the woofer, the bigger the cone, and now it just becomes a really inefficient system. We are allowing you to put the power where it matters, getting more usable output, because heat is not our friends when running audio systems. And so if we can keep the engine cool, we can get more usable output over a longer duration and ultimately drive more ROI for your business because you can only deploy what you need. Real people from end to end. And so if you're working with Trulli, and we really hope to work with all of you, if you were to reach out to support, those folks are at Trulli. Our engineering team is at Trulli. Our manufacturing team, our assembly team, it's there, right? And there's about just over 30 of us, and we have 25,000 square feet, and we're really proud of that, right? And we're going to continue to grow with y'all's help. And when we think of the base 50, we think of it as a system and not just a SKU, because the way you buy subwoofers today is there's different sizes and different applications, and when you're using one, I can't be using the other because they're not designed to work together. And so the way the base 50 is designed is that whether you're starting small and building up, it's the same components. So you just buy more of the same system. Better for your business, better for your customers. So what we are enabling you to do is take that 10-inch subwoofer and use it in applications of 20 people all the way up to 5,000. And we've done it. And so we call that the Trulli Base 50. Wired or wireless battery-powered subwoofer, allowing you to be off the grid. And so if you're rolling in rock and rollers worth of speakers, or you're trying to deploy something super small, super compact, really at an entry-level point, but we're trying to deploy a system that enables you and your organization to use it every single day, really driving the ROI, reducing a lot of those complexities that come from those 4 taxes. But sometimes we also need to deploy rigs that are for a week long or weeks long, that are of much larger size. This can scale to those sizes as well. So to help talk about this, I'm bringing up a very good friend of mine, Devin Olson, product manager here at Trulli Audio.
Hey Jordan, 8 AM 26, how are we feeling? Thank you so much for coming and spending the last session here with us. As Jordan explained, I want to take you through using one box to take from a gig from 20 people all the way up to 5,000 people with main stages and line arrays, and how we can do that and be portable, roll in, roll out for everyday use. So starting off at the base, we have our dolly system. So this is a fantastic dolly, and it allows us to be portable while using the subwoofer at the same time. So the nice thing about that is you see this big hole in the middle, this cutout. This allows you to use the base 50 in a down-firing orientation, still allowing you to put a top speaker on it and keep it mobile. So I just locked that in place, so now it's locked onto the dolly. And we have this awesome QD system on our base 50 here, so you're able to take your handles off just by a quick disconnect here. And that allows us to keep the integrity and sound quality of our sealed enclosure without putting handles in it. So I can just go ahead and put those aside. So then I'm going to take my poles here. So we worked with an amazing company called K&M. You might have heard of them. They're downstairs. Go check them out. But when you start attaching things to subwoofers, they like to rattle. So we wanted to reduce that as much as possible. So we have this amazing M20 with a locking ring on top, which will allow you to put your top speaker right onto the base 50 and lock it down so it doesn't vibrate. So I'm going to lock that in place, and then I'm going to take my top speaker here, and this is a little Bose S1 Pro. This is great for really small intimate events, like Jordan said, 20 to 50 people, and it allows you to be really, really mobile. So I'm just going to go ahead and lock that down here. So let me go ahead and unlock my wheels, and I'm going to spin this around so you can see the connections. So in this application, we're going to use a simple method to connect. We're going to take Bluetooth from the Trulli app, connect directly to the base 50, and then on our input panel here and outputs, we have our inverter here, so you can charge the unit while it's playing. You can also get USB-C in and out. If you're a producer on the go, you can mix in your hotel room without a USB interface. And then we also have aux in and out with this 1/8-inch balanced. And the reason we use that is we wanted to shrink the board as much as possible to make this truly portable, so something you can use every single day. So when we always get asked, why don't you use XLR? And that's the main reason, but we have a very simple cable to adapt from 1/8 inch to XLR. So let me go ahead and make my connection to my Bose. I'm going to plug it into the XLR input number 1 and make sure my speaker's on. And then I'm going to go ahead and connect to the aux output on the base 50, which will send the signal from here to my Bose speaker. So let me go ahead and lock the wheels in place, so that way we're reducing any possibility of rattling here. And then I'm going to go ahead and get connected via my phone app.
This configuration was inspired by a gym in Chicago that deployed the rig, and it was too much bass for them because they had neighbors above them. The reason why they had this was because they do, exercise classes in their gym, and they can't have any cables. But they also want you to feel it just a little bit because they were using something similar to this, and it just doesn't have any low output. For those size rooms, this is a killer application. If I want more, which I tend to do,
But same space.
but I don't want to give up more space.
Okay. All right, well, let's take a look at the next accessory here, and we'll show you how we can do just that. So let me push this off here. And a little cooking show magic here. We are going to convert this base 50. So what we did here is we flipped it around, so now it's firing up, and we removed the feet and attached our port latches here. So that allows us to attach my favorite accessory, thank you, which is our universal port. This is a passive enclosure that's tuned for the base 50, and it simply drops on with the gasket and makes a perfect seal, and all you have to do is latch it down with 4 case latches here.
Well, no single component is more than 35 pounds, and so anyone can do this, right? And you can break it down into Legos that make it easier for you to deploy. Obviously, someone is capable of lifting this as a single piece. I am not, but it doesn't mean I can't use it.
Absolutely. And on top of the port here, now we have our M20 threaded adapter, so we can put our pole back in here, and we'll lock this down in place. And then I'm going to take a little bit larger of a top speaker. This is an EVE Verse 12. This is a battery-powered top, which pairs well for this application. So I'm going to go ahead and lock that down. And let me spin this around so you can see the connections again. So I'm going to take that same cable that I had before and the same connection method, Bluetooth from the app to the base 50. I'm going to go to my XLR input on my EV. I'm going to spin this around. And then I'm going to go to the aux output on the base 50.
The reason why we're showing this Street Fest up here is because typically Street Fests are like a long and narrow ballroom, right? And so the challenge with that is when deploying audio, traditionally I would set up a rig on one side, try to get it up high, and throw it as far as I can. And the challenge with that is these people at these benches, I'm sorry, it's just not going to be a great experience for you. At the same time, the people in the back still can't hear it. So what could we do differently for an experience where we need music throughout the space, but we want it to be well balanced? So you could deploy this system right here every 75 to 100 feet and wirelessly connect them. You can connect 5 systems together wirelessly using ska. And so now we can get really creative with how we deploy our audio. Another example, evening events. They don't typically start and end in the same location. The guests usually move. The event starts in one location and then moves to another. They wheeled it over into the wedding reception and used that for the rear satellites for the speeches. And then once the speeches were over and dancing began, they moved these satellites, because they're on wheels, to the rear corners of the dance floor and now created 4-corner dance. No gaff tape, no wires. The client was happy because they got the most out of their money. And then for that production company, they were able to charge more for that system because the client got more for it. But it was still less money than what they would have paid for something that they got less use out of. A meeting planner in Scottsdale, Arizona decided, I'm going to go from a rooftop into my conference center, and instead of using the chime, they just took the music with them, and the people moved with it.
It was magical. It all worked. It worked so well.
But now you're saying to yourself, it's still not enough. I need more output because I'm a demanding person.
But same space, right?
These
no
are
more
tight
space.
spaces.
Okay.
So how do we
all
do
right.
it?
Well, let me take this off here, and then we're going to show you the next step up if we want a little bit more output. Actually, a lot more output. What we have here is the same setup as we had before with the port and the base 50 on the bottom, but what we did is we now inverted the port and put it on top of the other port, and we're able to do that by using our stacking clamps here. So these are an awesome accessory. These just unscrew like this. They will grab onto the foot and lock them together. Very simple.
Hashtag no zip ties.
All right, so now that's secure. I'm going to take my second base 50, and notice how I'm able to do this all by myself. I don't know about y'all, but who here likes lifting 18-inch subwoofers? Anybody? No? Okay, one person. For me, my neck and my back don't like it, so I'm gonna stay away from that stuff. But it's very simple. It just aligns, and then you latch it down on all four sides. Now that that's done, I'm gonna put my shorter pole on top. So this is an awesome little pole accessory here. And again, this is the second use case for that top plate adapter.
So while Devin gets the top speaker on, I want to call out this plate again, this M20 top plate. That was used in that smaller configuration, and it's now being used in the larger configuration. But what's critical about this plate is not that it only gives you a pole mount, but if you're on a yacht, a cruise ship, a parade float, or a hill, how are you going to secure this from tipping over when you hit the wake? Well, these wings perfectly fit a sandbag handle, but you can also do a hook strap right here. You can do a hook strap on the feet. Safety is no accident, and this was designed intentionally so that you can continue to use this and look professional and remain safe.
Absolutely.
Right? So just wanted to call that out real
Great
quick.
point. So let me spin this around here, and we'll go through the wiring in this setup, which is not very different than the others. So in this scenario, for simplicity, again, there's many ways to connect via wired, wireless, or SCA. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to connect to my XLR input number 1 again. I'm going to come out of the top base 50 here, which is receiving that Bluetooth signal from the Trulli app. And then again, I'm going to jump to my bottom unit here, and then come out back up to my top speaker. So very simple. Now let's spin this back around.
While Devin gets that connected, one other cool factor here, right? As mentioned by Devin, that the top subwoofer is inverted. Well, it serves two purposes. Adding another setup is going to double your output, but now you're getting this port coupling effect, similar to dual 12, 15, or 18-inch cabinets where you see the woofers on the outer sides and the ports are in the middle. That's so the energy can really work together. Well, there's a company in Chicago called the DJ Firm, and they're about a 12-person company, and the CEO, Eric, hit me up and said, Jordan, we have your base 50 systems, and we have this really cool event coming up, and this was in December, and we want to invite you to be part of it. Come attend. We think it's going to be pretty awesome, and it shows off your technology in a really cool way. So he told me about it, and I said, that's pretty cool. Can we film it? And he was like, yeah. So here it is.
One of the biggest things of expanding yourself and what you do are being able to take on, bigger or larger events that may be outside your capabilities.
Crowds packed Michigan Avenue to attend the city's annual kickoff to the holiday season.
Festive cheer here in the air on Michigan Avenue as
thousands of people are expected to fill the downtown area along Michigan Avenue.
With performances by the Plain White Tees and DJ White Shadow.
So my name is Eric Sampson, aka DJ Gem. I'm one of the co-founders here at the DJ Firm. When you boil it all down, we love making people happy. I think that's one of the reasons DJ Firm exists. I want to be on the cutting edge of designs and create really cool custom ideas. We're gonna just be rolling down that road, Michigan Avenue. You're gonna feel the sound, you're gonna feel the power right in your face. So this is not gonna be your normal interaction with a float for sure. We started, I wanna say 8 a.m. in the morning. Loading was pretty smooth. Loading the Trulli speakers onto the truck. Everything was on wheels. Everything was kind of loaded out on wheels. Since we weren't going into any venues, we were pretty much kind of going onto the street. Everything loading onto the street was super, super easy. Everything was just super smooth and was on point.
I think it's a cool way to present the music to people, and that's what this is all about: trying new stuff and getting out there and blasting music in people's faces. So here we go.
Again, my thing is the people's faces, the smiles, being able to bring that energy of the DJ so close to them, curbside, with the speakers, and feeling that, what is the DJ playing, really infused more dancing, on the sides, more interaction. So I just thought it was a really amazing experience, and I think that was an experience of that float that people were able to take away, maybe even talking about it now. And then also the sound was just amazing. For us to be on Michigan Avenue and then still being able to feel that bass and feel you know, where everything was coming from, feeling like the DJ was right there next to you, even though they were like 15 feet away.
It's a great connector, man. It's mathematics. It's the fabric of the universe. It's how people communicate without knowing each other's language. It's love. It's happiness. It's everything, man. It's what makes the world move around.
I learned about it on the spot. It was actually incredible. The fact that you guys were able to push that thing as fast as you could, it means it's super lightweight. I love the fact that it's wireless. It sounded amazing.
Like, it was unreal, man. This is street. This is asphalt. This is as bumpy as it gets.
And it was right up to the crowd. They loved it.
Yeah.
I am astounded that actually pulled off, and it pulled off flawlessly and amazingly. So just thank you to everyone from Chicago, thank you to Trulli, thank you for the DJ firm.
That was an incredible experience. There was 1.2 million people in attendance, making it the largest evening parade in the world. The parade route was almost 1.5 miles long, and it was 28 degrees outside. So how do we scale beyond that? How do we go to another level? When we start to get into that, we get into additional power problems. So how do we reimagine power as we continue to scale this rig up? How many of us use generators of this size? What about generators of that size? We all came here to NAMM not to discover new generator technology, because that doesn't exist. And so what we did come here to discover is new tech to drive great experiences, great sound, really connecting with our community in new and better ways. How many of you have been on an event where the power went out? Yeah, terrible experience, right? And so there's a company in Chicago called Oris. They're a very large company, and they produce huge events. They own a lot of nightclubs. They own many venues, and they produce some of the biggest festivals in Chicago. And so they partnered with us, and we're leveraging the Base 50 systems. And there was a stage that started to have some generator problems, and ultimately Trulli saved them. But it inspired them to now think a little bit differently about how to do events off the grid, and so we're going to show you that right here.
So Arc at Sea is an extension of the music festival Arc. It's just something unique, a clubbing experience on the water. As we're doing sound check, we're noticing some issues with the upstairs power. It was kind of just flickering a little bit. As soon as the headliners went on and they wanted to crank it up, it was game over. We explained to them that we do have an alternative solution, and it's a battery-powered sound system from Trulli, and we brought the entire party downstairs, and it turned out to be a really awesome party. What's cool is it helps you get creative and really think, like, what can we do off the grid with this and go as far as the imagination can kind of explore. My name is Garrett. From the beginning to the end, I kind of touch all the points of a party, from booking the DJs, doing some graphic design for some of the shows, and then now more than I have in the past is like on the production side of it. So kind of organizing the sound and managing the event from start to finish. At that time, I just realized that it was something I didn't want to just do on the weekends and wanted it to be something I would do with my entire life. First thing you want to do is be a DJ. DJ Infinity. The space that we're sitting in now is probably my most proudest, which is Spy Bar. I was a resident here for 15 years. So everything that was inspirational to me was here in Chicago. I'd say Spy Bar is my favorite place to check out music for sure still. At the beginning of that day, I was actually on site for the festival, still setting up the artist lounge. Things were going by so fast. I knew these guys were over there handling the parade.
In Chicago at JP Graziano's.
You're gonna stay in this line, they're gonna ring in the back, the line will bend around, and I'll call you by me when it's done.
This entire setup that Ranger's DJing on right now is battery powered. At 2 p.m., we're gonna keep the party going right down Randolph, right to Arc Music Festival to open the gates.
I'm keeping an eye on the clock. I'm like, I have to make a time to go over there and see how this is going. I jumped on a little divvy bike. As I was rolling closer to the parade, all of a sudden you kind of start hearing the music bumping. It was just a really cool moment to see everything kind of going off exactly how we expected it. Everyone having a great time dancing, and yeah, it was a really cool moment. And it was something that like we created together. And it was all of a sudden there's this like, I would say like an official opening ceremony to ARC that people didn't even know were happening, and they were just a part of it out of nowhere. But honestly, the whole thing kind of felt like a dream, like a movie. But just going in between the speakers with everybody at one point was feeling like I was a part of the parade was really cool. Yeah, this year we might have even just rolled the actual speakers from the parade right into the artist lounge and just powered them on. It was just all pretty seamless. The Artist Lounge is an interesting space. It's a spot for people to hang out and get away from the festival, but also it needs to turn into a party at some point. So I felt like the speakers early in the day felt like a nice little warm hug, but as the night went on, it definitely got the party started for sure. Every single person that we've like done a show with or party with, I feel like at the end of the night, someone's like, yo, what is this stuff? I think in this instance, definitely you gotta hear it to believe it. And then once you do, it's kind of like game over. Now it's kind of like a new era of where can you go do a party at? You know, this could drive an entire festival, for real.
Here it is, that DJ booth. It's two rock and roller carts seamed together to make one cart. And every DJ at that event had a rider. And so in this situation, there was a Pioneer DJM A9, 3 CDJ 3000s, one DJM or an RMX 1000, and then underneath there's 2 Bass 50s and a Bose S1 for your monitor rig, fully battery powered. Now, in this application and what we show on the screen there, we are showing going wireless. But due to the fact that we're in such an intimate space and in such a close proximity, if we were to run Pro Wireless, which is a 19 millisecond delay, you would hear the difference between your booth monitor, which is only a 1 millisecond delay. And that would not sound right. So if this was a larger room where the DJ was not as close to you and the main rig, then we would run wireless. In this scenario, the whole rig is wired, but it is battery powered. This configuration right here is easily capable of doing a 100 to 200 person event. Roll in, roll out. But let's say we want to scale up even larger. We want to remove even more infrastructure, gain more space, and really start to think about some exponential savings. How are we going to deploy audio anywhere, anytime at that scale? It's still the same rules. These are still the same big stages. We're just eliminating the generator and thinking about power a little bit differently. And that's going to translate to feeling the difference in your pocket and in the crowd, right? Which is still just as important. How are we going to go from that Bass 50 that we were using for that 20-person cafe or gym or corporate activation all the way now to a main stage? What we want to do first is convert our main speakers into Texas headphones. And the reason why we're going to do that is because the DJ does not want to hear the mains whatsoever. So they're going to need larger monitors. And then in return, what we're going to do is roll over our new 6-stack. So it's a triple cart, enabling us to reduce the number of pushes from the truck to the event, because that's more labor, going back to real savings. And so what we did was we developed a cart. Now all of these carts are designed to interlock to one another, and we can show you that afterwards, so that they pack safer in a truck. This cart specifically fits really nicely on a lift gate, and then you could pack 4 wide in a box truck or a semi. What's also really cool, we're only running 1 cable from the DJ booth to this main stack, and then we're using a radial DI splitter, an LX3. Radial's downstairs, great company, so that there's no signal loss when splitting that amongst this signal chain. Instead of just daisy chaining the whole rig, we're properly splitting it with that DI box. Now, in this scenario, we're running 2 tops. One is going to be for our infill, ever so slightly, And then our other one will be for our main throw. If this was a wide room, I would need more dispersion. So how do I do that? I would just add a third speaker and throw it sideways. But I don't need that here. If we wanted to go even one step further, because we needed to throw the audio further into the room, now we're going to cut our EVs off of our tops, and we're going to run these PK-T8 line arrays. We're going to pop the EVs off, but you're like, hang on, those PKs are not battery powered. And so what we're going to do is we're going to roll in these Blue Eddy battery systems, and to show you this is how we powered those 16 PK-T8s at that festival, all of the backline and everything at front of house, and 6 CO2 jets. And that was over 4 days from rehearsals to show, in rain, in extreme heat. And the cool part was with the solar adapters for the Blue Eddys, the batteries remained at 99% the entire time. We're no longer going directly from the mixer to our substacks. We're going from the mixer to the Avid S6L console at front of house, and then that's going back to our subwoofers and PK line arrays. What that's allowing us to now do, yes, it is a little more work and requires a little more equipment, but it lets us dial in some room EQ, a little bit of delay, a little bit of time correction, really getting these cabinets to work together. And when they work together and those frequencies then come together, it just makes a really, really big difference. So we promised everyone that we would show you the 19s and they would be on display here. So we're going to roll them in here. Now, these 19s are really cool, and we call these the deep dish version, which, because we're from Chicago, these are 5,000 watts RMS, and then we have the thin crust, which is the 2,000 watts RMS. These have a mounting depth of 6 inches. The other ones are 4 inches. Now we're currently running these off of an L Acoustics LA12X amplifier. We're using all 4 channels. We're putting 2 channels to each woofer because these are dual 2-ohm drivers. That will be changing for the final production version with some other refinements. Many folks told us that you could not scale thin driver technology to a large woofer application, and so we wanted to show you that it can, and it is possible. In 2026, over the course of this year, we will have 3 sizes available, 5 different flavors total, 2 of the 19, 2 of the 10, and 1 of the 6.5. So depending on your application, whether you're just a listener and lover, you're an integrator, you sell or rent, we want to work with y'all. We want to understand your organizations and how we can make a difference. Book a session with us. We want to talk with you. We want to meet with you. We really, really do want to understand what y'all are up to and how we can work together.